How did the night of Hollywood's most respected actor's greatest triumph suddenly turn into his most terrifying moment? When Denzel Washington collapsed in the middle of his acceptance speech, millions of viewers witnessed the drama live on television. What happened after the cameras stopped rolling? Hey everyone! Before you start watching, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Now let's get into our story. The Dolby Theater in Los Angeles was shining brighter than ever that night. The 96th Academy Awards was proceeding in all its glory. The red carpet was over, the famous guests had taken their seats, and the excitement had reached its peak. As the clock showed 11:15 p.m., the host took the stage to announce the Best Actor category. "And now, one of the most exciting categories of the night," said the host, opening the envelope. To present the Best Actor award, last year's winner Bradley Cooper. Bradley Cooper took the stage and after a brief speech, opened the envelope. And the Oscar goes to Denzel Washington for his unforgettable performance in Redemption. The theater erupted in applause. The camera turned to Denzel Washington, sitting in the front row. The 69-year-old legendary actor hugged his wife Pauletta, then slowly stood up. In his black velvet tuxedo, he walked toward the stage with his characteristic charismatic manner. This was Washington's fourth Oscar and represented the pinnacle of his career. Washington had become one of the most respected names in Hollywood in recent years. Redemption told the story of a former criminal finding his way back to life, and Washington had gone through months of intensive preparation for this role. The film had received great praise not only from critics but also from viewers, grossing $650 million worldwide. When he reached the stage, he hugged Bradley Cooper, took the golden statuette, and approached the microphone. The hall fell silent. Everyone was eager to hear Washington's speech. "Thank you," Washington began with his usual calm and measured voice. "This award means a lot to me. Redemption is a story that reminds us that life is about second chances. And I've had many second chances throughout my career." As Washington continued his speech, the hall was fixed on him. He spoke about the early years of his career, his story of overcoming challenges. He offered advice to young actors he mentored. Every word was full of wisdom and experience. "The beauty of filmmaking is having the chance to live other lives," he said, smiling. "And Walter, the character I portrayed in Redemption, taught me a lot. He reminded me that no matter how far a person falls, they can always get back up with the right choices." After thanking the director, producers, and fellow actors, Washington directed his words to his family. "And of course, to my wife Pauletta, my life partner who has been by my side for 43 years, always supporting me." At that moment, Denzel Washington's speech was cut short. He paused for a moment, then grabbed his chest with his hand. A sudden expression of discomfort appeared on his face. His eyes began to blur, he swayed slightly. He tried to hold onto the microphone but couldn't, and suddenly collapsed in the middle of the stage. The hall was instantly engulfed in a silence filled with shock and panic. For a few seconds, no one could understand what had happened. Then a woman screamed. Bradley Cooper immediately rushed to Washington's side and tried to check his condition. Hollywood giants like Spielberg and Scorsese also jumped to their feet. Millions of people watching the live broadcast watched this dramatic scene unfolding before their eyes in horror. The director of ABC television gave the order to immediately move the cameras away and cut to a commercial break, but it was too late. Everyone had seen Denzel Washington collapse in the middle of the stage. During the commercial break, social media went crazy. The hashtags #DenzelWashington and #OscarDrama instantly became trending topics. Thousands of new messages were being shared every second on Twitter. Instagram and Facebook were flooded with posts about Washington. People were sharing comments in worry and shock. No one knew exactly what had happened, but everyone feared the worst. "Did I just see Denzel Washington faint on stage? Please someone tell me he's okay," wrote the Twitter user. "We're live in Los Angeles right now and we have to bring you disturbing news," said CNN presenter Anderson Cooper, breaking into an emergency bulletin. At the Academy Awards ceremony, Denzel Washington, who received the Best Actor award, collapsed on stage during his acceptance speech. No official statement has yet been made about his condition. Inside the Dolby Theater, chaos reigned. The hall lights were fully on, medical teams had immediately come on stage and were providing first aid to Washington. Famous guests were standing, anxiously waiting to see what would happen. Meryl Streep was crying. Tom Hanks had rushed to the side of Washington's wife Pauletta to support her. Actress Viola Davis sat on the other side of Pauletta, holding her hand. "Please step back, give him room to breathe," shouted a health worker. The medical team was examining Washington, checking his pulse and other vital signs. A stretcher was quickly brought onto the stage. The Academy's security personnel tried to keep curious journalists and photographers at bay. The director of the ceremony had implemented the emergency protocol backstage. "Move the cameras away," he instructed. "Continue with the commercials. Do not show the stage in any way." Washington's children John David, Malcolm, and Katia rushed toward their father. John David had once worked as an actor himself, and seeing his father's collapse deeply shook him. "Dad," he called out in tears. As the medical team placed Washington on the stretcher, he slightly opened his eyes. He was trying to recognize those around him. What happened?" he asked in a weak voice. This slightly relieved the tension in the hall. At least he was conscious. "You fainted, Mr. Washington," explained the head medical officer. "We need to take you to the hospital." "Don't worry, everything will be all right." Washington tried to hold his wife's hand. Pauletta leaned toward her husband and whispered something in his ear. Washington nodded and was taken off stage on the stretcher. Pauletta and their children followed him. After a 15-minute break, when the broadcast resumed, host Jimmy Kimmel took the stage. His face was pale and serious. "Dear guests and viewers," said Kimmel, with a voice that was noticeably trembling. "Due to the unfortunate incident that just occurred, we had to take a short break in our ceremony. Denzel Washington is currently under the care of our medical team and will be taken to the hospital as soon as possible. His family is with him and his condition has been stabilized." After a short pause, Kimmel continued, "In accordance with the wishes of Denzel's family, we will continue with our ceremony. But of course, our hearts and thoughts are with Denzel and his family." The hall responded with quiet applause. The ceremony continued in tension, but the previous enthusiasm was gone. Winners came on stage and gave their speeches, but everyone's mind was on Denzel Washington. Many speakers conveyed their get-well-soon wishes to Washington in their acceptance speeches. Meanwhile, Washington was being examined in more detail backstage. Doctors determined that there was no immediate danger to his life, but he needed to be hospitalized for a more detailed examination. "We need to do an EKG and blood tests right away," said one of the doctors. "He might have had a heart attack. We need to make sure." The organizing committee arranged a special exit for Washington and his family. An ambulance was waiting at the back door, away from the media. Washington was carried to the ambulance on a stretcher, and his wife and children went with him. After the ceremony, the emergency service ambulance took Washington to the Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Journalists and photographers had already gathered in front of the hospital. How they got the news was unknown, but the media was skilled at quickly learning everything. Pauletta Washington, Tom Hanks, and Denzel's close friend and longtime director Spike Lee were in the car following the ambulance. Hanks moved to the front to block the journalists. "Please give some space," he said, raising his hands. "His family is very worried right now and is having a private moment. Please show respect." When Washington was admitted to the emergency room, the whole world was following the news moment by moment. CNN, Fox News, and other news channels cut their broadcasts to report on Washington's condition. Hollywood reporters were broadcasting live from in front of the hospital. Among other famous names who arrived at the hospital were Robert Downey Jr., Jennifer Lawrence, and Washington's close friend Will Smith. Smith made a brief statement to the press. "Keep praying for Denzel. He's a strong man, he'll get through this." As midnight passed, the first official statement came from Cedars-Sinai. "Denzel Washington was urgently brought to our hospital tonight. His condition is currently stable and his tests are ongoing. The family requests that their privacy be respected during this difficult time." This limited statement increased speculation even more. TMZ and other gossip sites began publishing news based on information they claimed to have received from hospital staff. Some said heart attack, some said stroke, others said extreme fatigue and dehydration. Alan Nyarab, Washington's longtime manager, made a statement from his social media account. "Most of the rumors circulating about Denzel's condition are unfounded. Please wait for official statements and refrain from spreading false information." On social media, The hashtag we pray for Denzel spread quickly. Fans were sending support messages, sharing their favorite moments, films, and speeches from Washington's career. That night once again revealed how beloved Washington was worldwide. Denzel Washington isn't just an actor to me, he's a source of inspiration, wrote a fan. His films changed my outlook on life. Please get well, Denzel, we love you. Another fan shared a scene from Washington's film, Remember the Titans, writing, "This man taught me what leadership and honesty mean. Now it's time to pray for him." In the early hours of the morning, Todd Black, Washington's business partner and CEO of his film company Escape Artists, made a brief statement to the press. "We understand the concerns about Denzel's condition. For now, all we can say is that his condition is stable and he's with his family. Please wait for official statements from the hospital for more information." In the hospital, Washington was undergoing a series of tests. EKG, MRI, blood tests, and other diagnostic procedures were carried out one after another. Doctors were evaluating every possible scenario. "Mr. Washington, I need to ask you a few questions," said specialist cardiologist Dr. Melissa Chen. "Have you recently experienced any chest pain, shortness of breath, or dizziness?" Washington sat up slightly in his hospital bed. "Yes, actually I've been experiencing occasional dizziness for the past few weeks, but I attributed all of it to the intense work pace. The filming of Redemption and then the Oscar campaign. It was quite exhausting." "How was your sleep pattern?" asked the doctor. Washington laughed, but this laugh was somewhat bitter. "Sleep? I haven't slept more than 3 or 4 hours a night for the past 2 months. Work intensity, interviews, travels. Sometimes I couldn't even remember which city I was in." Dr. Chen nodded, taking notes. "That might explain it. We're currently waiting for your test results, but preliminary findings indicate a fainting episode due to extreme fatigue and stress. However, we have some concerns about your heart health. We're seeing small anomalies in your EKG." Pauletta, Washington's wife, squeezed her husband's hand. "What happened to him, doctor? Will he be all right?" Dr. Chen responded in a reassuring tone. "Mr. Washington's condition is currently stable. However, we want to keep him under observation for a few days. We'll need to do more detailed tests for his heart health, and he definitely needs to rest and avoid stress." By the afternoon, the hashtag pray for Denzel was trending worldwide. From Dwayne Johnson to Beyoncé, from Barack Obama to Steven Spielberg, many famous names were sharing support messages for Denzel Washington. "My thoughts and prayers are with my dear friend Denzel," Meryl Streep had written. "He's not just an extraordinary actor, but also a wonderful person." Tom Cruise posted, "Denzel Washington is a legend who inspires us all. I wish him a speedy recovery with all my heart." Even Barack Obama shared a message from his Twitter account. "Michelle and I are praying for Denzel's quick recovery. He's not just an extraordinary artist, but also a person who contributes a lot to our society." That evening, Washington's son John David Washington faced the press in front of the hospital. There was fatigue and concern on his face, but he was trying to maintain his composure. "First of all, thank you for all the messages of love and support," said John David. "Your interest during this difficult time is very valuable to our family. My father is currently resting and under the care of doctors. The incident was a fainting episode due to fatigue, stress, and dehydration. Fortunately, there is no heart attack or stroke situation. However, due to some small anomalies in his heart, the doctors advised him to stay in the hospital for a few days and rest." A journalist asked, "Is Denzel's condition serious?" John David nodded. "According to the doctors, his condition is stable. But this is a warning sign of the intense work pace in recent years. My father has made 8 films, acted in 2 theater plays, and directed 2 films in the last 5 years. This would be a demanding pace for anyone, and even more challenging for someone who's 69. Another journalist asked, "Will he be able to complete his Oscar speech?" John David smiled slightly. "My father said, feeling the love and support of so many people is more effective than the strongest medicine," he said. "Don't worry, I'll be back among you soon. And yes, someday I'll complete that speech." This statement relieved millions of Denzel Washington fans. The panic atmosphere on social media gave way to messages of joy and relief. However, the incident had left deep marks on Hollywood and the film industry in general. The next day, The headlines of major newspapers were about Denzel Washington, drama at Oscar night, legendary actor's terrifying moment, Hollywood held its breath. Television channels were continuously broadcasting the incident and discussing it with experts. In a statement on CNN, Dr. Sanjay Gupta said, "Dehydration, extreme fatigue, and stress can lead to serious health problems, especially in someone of Washington's age. This is a warning sign from the body. And unfortunately, working conditions in Hollywood can be very demanding, especially for aging actors." Film historian and critic Leonard Maltin pointed out another dimension. This incident has started a serious discussion about working conditions in Hollywood and the age factor. The fact that even a legend like Denzel Washington is pushed this hard makes us think about the pace and pressure of the industry. Perhaps the Academy and studios should reassess working conditions, especially for actors over a certain age. Many producers and studio executives in Hollywood began to make statements about working conditions on sets after Washington's condition. The CEO of Warner Brothers stated, "The health and welfare of our actors and crew is our top priority. After this incident, we will review the working hours and conditions in all our productions." The Academy Awards Organizing Committee also made an official statement. "We are very pleased to learn that Denzel Washington's health condition is improving. The unexpected incident during the ceremony deeply affected us. As the Academy, the health and welfare of artists is always our priority. We will prepare more comprehensive emergency protocols for similar situations in future ceremonies and work to make the intensive program of the awards season more humane." In the hospital, Washington's condition had been stabilized, but doctors wanted to do more tests. Dr. Chen conducted a comprehensive heart examination on Washington and consulted with other experts on the results. "Mr. Washington, we've received your cardiological test results," said Dr. Chen when she entered the patient's room. "We've detected a small heart rhythm disorder. This is usually related to stress, fatigue, and age. It doesn't require immediate treatment but needs to be monitored." Washington nodded. "What does that mean, doctor? Will I be able to continue working?" Dr. Chen gave a direct and honest answer. "You can continue working, but you need to significantly reduce your pace. At least 7 to 8 hours of sleep a day, regular exercise, healthy eating, and most importantly, stress management. Also, I recommend you visit your cardiologist for regular checkups." Paletta squeezed her husband's hand. "You can be sure he'll do that, doctor. I'll personally make sure he gets more rest from now on." Washington laughed. "My boss has spoken. I guess I really will have to rest now." Dr. Chen smiled. "This is a warning sign for you, Mr. Washington. Sometimes our body tells us we need to slow down. And this time, your body told you this in quite a dramatic way." 3 days later, Denzel Washington was discharged from the hospital. He had a brief conversation with journalists at the hospital exit. He was smiling with his usual charisma and warmth, but signs of fatigue were still visible on his face. "First of all, I want to thank everyone for all their love and support," said Washington. "What happened that night was a big shock for me too. But according to the doctors, it was a situation resulting from overwork, stress, and not resting enough. Now my priority is to rest and spend time with my family." A journalist asked, "Will you have a chance to complete your Oscar speech?" Washington laughed. "Actually, yes, I couldn't say exactly what I wanted to say. Maybe someday I'll complete that speech. But for now, I want to say that I appreciate the value of this award and the support of my fans." Another journalist asked, "Will there be any changes in your career plans after this incident?" After thinking for a moment, Washington answered, "Yes, there definitely will be. Doctors advised me to work less and rest more. And this time, I'm really listening. Maybe this was a sign sent to me by God. To create more balance in life, to spend more time with loved ones." Washington left the hospital with his wife Paletta and children. They got into a black SUV waiting for them and quickly drove away. Journalists tried to follow them, but the Washington family managed to reach their home in Los Angeles. Washington's discharge from the hospital was a relieving moment for Hollywood. However, the echoes of the incident continued. The film industry entered into serious discussions about the health of aging stars and working conditions on sets. SAG-AFTRA, Screen Actors Guild, launched a campaign to improve working conditions for elderly actors. The president of the union said, "The Denzel Washington incident shows that our industry needs more humane working conditions. Especially for actors over 60, we demand more rest breaks, shorter working hours, and more regular health checks. Variety magazine published a cover story titled, "The Washington Effect, Hollywood's Wake-Up Call." The article examined the effects of demanding work schedules in the film industry, especially on older actors. The magazine included statistics showing a 32% increase in set accidents and health problems among actors over 60 in the last 5 years. Washington's fainting has caused many studios and producers to review their policies, the article stated. Now many productions are more strictly monitoring the health of their actors and allocating more rest time in shooting schedules. Major Hollywood studios, Universal, Warner Brothers, Disney, and Paramount, issued a joint statement after the Washington incident. Filmmaking is, by its nature, a challenging process. However, no film is more important than the health of anyone on our crew. Following Denzel Washington's incident, we commit to reviewing and improving working conditions in all our productions. Alan Nyarab, Washington's manager, announced that all of the artist's upcoming projects would be postponed. Denzel is currently in a complete recovery process. He will have no professional obligations for 3 months and will focus entirely on rest. This decision affected the production schedule of 2 major films in which Washington was expected to star. But the studios responded with understanding. The president of Sony Pictures stated, "Denzel's health is much more important to us than any film schedule. We will wait until he's completely recovered." Within 2 weeks after the Washington incident, a new program called Wellness Initiative was launched in Hollywood. The program offered on-set health checks, balanced nutrition plans, and regular break hours, especially for actors over 60. One of the first supporters of the initiative was Tom Hanks. "What happened to Denzel was a warning for all of us," Hanks said in an interview. "We've ignored the age factor in Hollywood. In our 60s, we can't work like we did in our 20s. Our bodies send us signals and we need to listen to these signals." Denzel Washington gave his first interview a month after the incident with Oprah Winfrey. On Oprah's program, he detailed that night. He appeared in front of the camera in a home environment, wearing comfortable clothes. He had gained a bit of weight and looked more rested than before. "I don't exactly remember what happened at that moment, Oprah," said Washington. "I was giving my speech and suddenly everything started to darken. My knees trembled. I tried to hold onto the microphone but couldn't. Then I opened my eyes in the hospital." Oprah asked, "Were you scared?" "Actually, I didn't have time to be scared of the incident itself," Washington laughed. "But afterward, lying in the hospital, I had a lot of time to think about my life and choices. And you know, Oprah, sometimes God has to slow you down to give you a message." "What kind of message?" Pressed. "More balance in life, more rest, more time spent with loved ones. Success, applause, awards, all of these are nice. But in the end, what really matters is your health and your loved ones." Oprah asked about the effects of this new life philosophy on his career. "So what will you do next? Will you quit acting?" Washington shook his head decisively. "No, I won't quit acting. Acting is my passion. But I'll be more selective from now on. Maybe 1 film every 2 years instead of 1 film a year. And I want to do more directing. This might be less physically demanding but more creatively satisfying." "What would you like to tell Hollywood after your experience that night at the Oscars?" Pressed. Washington thought for a moment. "Not to Hollywood, but actually to everyone, I'd like to say this. Life is short and precious. Success, money, fame, these are nice things. But the price shouldn't be your health. Because without your health, you can't enjoy any of the other things." Oprah asked, "And what would you like to say to the millions of fans watching you all over the world?" Washington looked directly at the camera, with that warm and wise expression always in his eyes. "I want to tell you this. Make time for your loved ones. Appreciate every moment. And take care of yourselves. Because the biggest role in life is your role in your own life." This interview was watched by millions of people, and Washington's words resonated not just in the film world, but in modern society focused on speed and success. The hashtag Denzel's wisdom once again trended on social media. In the weeks following the interview, Washington focused on his health and family. He rarely left his home in Los Angeles. Close friends Tom Hanks, Samuel L. Jackson, and Spike Lee often visited him. His family was by his side at every step. In an interview with People magazine, Washington's wife Pauletta said, This incident brought us even closer as a family. Denzel is now more at home, more with us. And you know what? I've known him for 43 years and right now, he's happier than he's been in a long time. His son John David Washington explained, "My father always taught us the importance of family and balance. But maybe he's just learning this lesson himself. Now he's more involved in gardening, reading books, spending time with his grandchildren. It's wonderful to see him so relaxed." 6 months after Oscar night, the Academy honored Denzel Washington at a special event. In a small ceremony, Washington was given the opportunity to complete his speech. Hollywood's biggest names were in the hall. When Washington took the stage, he was greeted with great applause. He now looked healthier and more rested. He was wearing an elegant tuxedo again, but this time he had a more comfortable and peaceful demeanor. He was holding the Oscar statuette he couldn't receive that night. "Thank you," he began, smiling. "Where were we?" "Oh yes, I was thanking my wife Pauletta." Now I can complete the sentence that was cut short that night. "Pauletta, you're not just my wife, you're my hero. Thank you for being by my side in difficult times." Washington looked at his wife. Pauletta was sitting in the front row, and her eyes were filled with tears. "I also want to thank my children, John David, Katia, and Malcolm. You are my greatest achievement. And to my grandchildren, your grandfather loves you very much." Then Washington did something unexpected. He set the Oscar statuette aside and began to speak directly to the cameras. "I've thought a lot since that night, and I've realized that sometimes life itself gives us the greatest award, a second chance. I got this chance. And now I'm telling you, awards, applause, fame, these are great. But the real award is being able to wake up every morning, spend time with your loved ones, and pursue your passions." Washington paused for a moment, scanned the hall, and continued, "When I fainted on stage that night, you all worried, and your love and support deeply affected me. Hollywood can be a competitive industry, but we're also like a family. And the most important characteristic of family is coming together in difficult times. Winning the Oscar might be the pinnacle of my career, but it's not the pinnacle of my life. The pinnacle of my life is waking up every morning with my loved ones, spending time with them, making them laugh, loving them. And perhaps that's a lesson we all need to remember." Washington's speech deeply affected not only those in the hall but also millions who later watched the video. The hashtag Denzel's wisdom trended again on social media. People began to question the balance in their own lives, to reassess their priorities. "Denzel Washington's speech made me cry and caused me to question my life," a social media user had written. "I was neglecting my health and family for success. Now it's time to change." From that day on, Denzel Washington continued his career in a more balanced way. He took part in fewer but more carefully selected projects. He also established a foundation to improve working conditions in the film industry. Second Chance Foundation focused especially on health issues of aging actors and working conditions on film sets. The foundation collected $50 million in donations from the film industry in its first year. This money was used to finance on-set health services, wellness programs for actors, and special health insurance for elderly artists. In his opening speech for the foundation, Washington said, "This initiative is not just for actors, but for all set workers. Cameramen, sound crew, production crew. Everyone works long hours and everyone faces health risks. Our aim is to make filmmaking more humane and sustainable." One of the first projects of the foundation was a regulation that brought mandatory break hours on film sets. Known as the Denzel Washington Rule, this regulation required a mandatory break of at least 30 minutes every 4 hours, especially for actors over 60. Washington had said in an interview, "Sometimes the darkest moments in life allow us to see the brightest paths. That Oscar night could have been the most embarrassing moment of my career. But now I look at it, and perhaps it was one of the most meaningful moments." Washington directed his first film 2 years after the incident. This time not as an actor, but as a director. The film, called Second Chance, told the story of a middle-aged man reassessing his life and setting new priorities after suffering a heart attack. The film was inspired by Washington's own experiences. The film received great praise from critics. The New York Times wrote, "Washington has managed to transform his own life lesson into a powerful and emotional story. This film isn't just a good piece of cinema, but also a valuable reminder for our modern society. Second Chance won Washington his first Oscar as a director. Attending the award ceremony with his family this time, Washington also brought his medical team. His acceptance speech was brief but powerful. "I'm thankful for second chances, and I want to remind everyone, true success isn't in applause or awards, but in appreciating every moment and making time for your loved ones." In the following years, Washington continued to work as both an actor and director, but with a more balanced pace. He participated in at most one project a year, took long vacations, and devoted more time to his family. His health condition also gradually improved. Regular exercise and healthy eating allowed him to keep his cardiological issues under control. 5 years after the Oscar night, as Washington celebrated his 74th birthday, he gave a comprehensive interview to The Hollywood Reporter magazine. In the interview, he explained how his life had changed since that night. "The fainting incident was a turning point for me," said Washington. "I think of my life as before and after that night. Before, I always wanted more. More films, more awards, more success. Afterward, I want more life, more meaning, more love, more connection." "Has your view of acting changed?" asked the journalist conducting the interview. Washington responded thoughtfully, "Acting is still my passion. But now it's a means, not an end. A means to tell stories, to influence people, to touch them. And I make sure these stories nourish me too. Stories that enrich my soul, not deplete it." At the end of the interview, Washington summarized the changes that came after his collapse at the Oscar night. "Sometimes life delivers a hard blow to slow you down. And this blow is actually a gift. It reminds you of what's really important. For me, that was family, health, and living a meaningful life." Washington's collapse at the Oscar night continues to be remembered as one of the most dramatic moments in Hollywood history. But perhaps more important is the change and awareness that came after this incident. Working conditions in the film industry improved, actors' health gained more importance, and Denzel Washington went down in history not only as a great actor but also as an agent of change. Washington's collapse reminded millions of people of the importance of balance between success and health. And perhaps the most beautiful thing was seeing how a crisis could turn into an opportunity, how a fall could lead to a stronger rise. As Washington celebrated his 75th birthday, he said in an interview with Time magazine, "When I fainted at the Oscar night, many people thought my career was over. But in reality, the most meaningful part of my life was just beginning. Sometimes our darkest moments illuminate the path to our brightest light." And perhaps this was the most valuable lesson that could be drawn from Washington's life. No success, no award, no applause is more valuable than our health and loved ones. True success is not in career, but in life itself. Denzel Washington's story continues to inspire not only in Hollywood but in all areas of life. And that dramatic Oscar night turned out to be not an end, but a sign of a new and more meaningful beginning.